Mike.
I'm Brad.
And this is Ministry Chemistry.
Good. Can you say it faster?
Here we go.
Hello and welcome back to Ministry Chemistry. We're so glad you're joining us today. It is that time of year again where spring is in the air and flowers are blooming and the sun is finally making its appearance. If you listen from anywhere else than like the Midwest, this has already been happening for you. You've probably got pollen on your windshields and it's, really super gross. I lived in North Carolina for a couple years and like this yellow.
Now you've offended all the Carolinians.
No, not true. Like they hate it too. All the yellow and you can't open your windows. And anyway, because it's springtime, we thought we would do just sort of a first quarter check-in because now's the time all the guys and gals that go to the gym regularly before New Year's are saying, finally, my gym is back. And so just to check in on New Year's resolutions, what does it mean to have rhythm and balance in a new season? Those kind of fun, super convicting questions. Am I still the glutton I was 2 months ago? Fun fact, I am. Unfun fact, I am. So, see, vulnerability. It's terrible, terrible thing. So what about you?
Work.
Yeah, do you guys do New Year's resolutions and do you track them? Do you do like a word for the year kind of thing?
Do you track them? Yeah, I have a week. No,
have
I
7
don't
days of
typically
tracking.
do them.
Like make them or do them?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
This year, my wife and I have both been going to the gym twice a week.
Way to go, Jill.
And it's because of her.
That's why
she
I
signed
said,
up.
way to go, Jill.
She signed up to go, and she said, "We're gonna go twice a week." I'm like, "Well, okay." And it's been really good. We haven't done a lot of communication while we're there, but just being there with her has been an interesting dynamic in our marriage.
So
But
it hasn't been so much about the gym time, but the Jill time.
and it's not like
See what I did there? It was fun.
Jim has
There's
nothing
a
to do
reason
with
I
this.
didn't acknowledge that.
I hate puns. Like I said, we don't. It's not like we work out together, but we're there together. But I'm noticing a difference in myself. So
Like your abs?
they're in there somewhere.
Okay.
I've got a 6-pack in my cooler.
Brad's the one that makes the alcohol jokes.
No.
This is, yes.
You can get pop in a 6-pack.
IBC cream soda, right? Shout out to all my cream soda people.
Ooh, you know what? Anyone in Kentucky will understand this.
Ale8.
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 Yeah.
I knew it was.
It's
I
my
knew
boy.
it. Goofy. So, you did make one this year and you are sticking with it.
I don't know that it was necessarily a New Year's resolution other than the fact that we're going to the gym.
Okay.
So we didn't title it as, hey, this is our New Year's resolution, because we thought, by the end of January, we'll be done.
They put such pressure on it.
It's amazing how packed on Monday nights the gym still is.
That's a good thing,
It's a good thing,
right?
unless you want to use that machine.
Yeah. Mike, what about you? Do you make?
I'm not necessarily a resolution person. I'm a goal person though.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I like goals. I like setting goals, going after goals. So it's not necessarily, like I said, a New Year's resolution, but January is what better time to set goals?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going into the new year. I don't typically do that like January 1, I'm going to do this. It's kind of like I'm thinking about it over the holidays. Hey, come January. I don't know. Maybe a better way to do New Year's resolutions is to start it the week before New Year's.
Oh yeah.
Just to be like, you know what? Like the last week of the year, just because you're only getting 1 week, like what better way to start it?
I'm going to stop eating pie every day.
Yeah, for breakfast.
Christmas cookies. We still have some left over. Not for me. Not today, Satan. You won't get me.
No, they're gone. I ate them.
27th.
Yeah.
I'm done with those.
I ate them last night.
Well, and I will say you're spot on in saying start before January 1st because what I always do is I'm a huge college football fan. And so January 1st, I've still got football food to eat and enjoy and watch football all day.
Buffalo chicken dip.
So I'm not trying to not trying to do like a buffalo chicken salad. No one's trying to do that.
What? Is that a thing?
I don't know.
If it is, it shouldn't be.
I just changed dip to salad. You could do that, right?
No.
Like taco dip, taco salad, right? I'm so much
This
healthier.
reminds me of the Real Men of Genius commercials. Anyway.
Yes. So then I'm like, well, when's the next good perfect date? Is it a Monday or is it like, if it's January 19th, 2019, then my date is 1/19/19. Like I get all weird mathy about that.
It's the day after.
So maybe if I just started in December, we could avoid all of that. Crazy.
Well, I struggle with
crazy. I did call myself crazy.
If I don't have like the full spectrum of what I want, then I don't want to do it at all.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to do it halfway.
That's right.
But I'm gonna.
Mike is not a halfway kind of guy.
I'm gonna plug a book here. I'm gonna plug a book. If that's I just finished in February. I finished Finish.
By John Acuff.
By John. Is it Acuff or is it Acuff?
It is Acuff.
Okay.
Emphasis.
Also, John, if you're listening, I'm really sorry he said a cuff.
Yeah. You said a cuff. I said a cuff.
No, I said John Acuff.
Okay.
Go back and listen to the tape. Everyone
Anyway,
rewind.
I finished it and I love practical advice.
Yeah.
And his whole book, the premise of it is combating perfectionism. Man, that's a struggle for me. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, I want to do this over the course of the month. And then you slip up in the first week and you're like, well, I'll just shift that goal to next month. It's like, no, just start it. That's why I said start your New Year's resolution the week after Christmas. Because then it's like, it's not necessarily a New Year's resolution. You're just setting out to do something and you're going to continue that into the new year. That's probably it's probably practical wisdom. It's not something that I adhere to necessarily, but the book was really good.
Yeah. I've heard great things about it. And honestly, I tried something new this year. Instead of saying I'm going to do this each week or each day or whatever, I wrote down what I want to be able to say about myself in December of this year. So in December of last year, 2018, I wrote down, here's what I want to be able to say happened this year, or I accomplished, or I included in my life, or, a bunch of different stuff. December 2019, this is what I'd like to be able to say I was able to do. Because then it truly does give me the whole year, and I've not messed up on day one, and I've messed up it entirely, right? Okay, I messed up a day. Doesn't matter. I seriously have the whole year to aim for the goals that I've set. Now, it's about doing it every day, something every day, trying every day. But it's been very freeing and less pressuring. But maybe the pressure helps people. I don't know.
Well, one of the principles he talks about in the book is, and this is the last plug on the book, I promise.
No, I think it's great.
But one of the principles he talks about,
John
and this
appreciates it too.
This seems so antithetical to how we think. It's definitely antithetical to how I think. He talks about reducing the size of your goal.
Yes.
He basically is like, we defeat ourselves before we ever start because we set our goals way beyond what we know our capabilities are, because we're thinking, well, if we aim for the stars, you know what I mean? That whole line. But it's like when you do that, then it's self-defeating, and like he gives a percentage, but it's something like 93% of people quit before they barely even get started because they realize how much work it's going to take.
Sure.
That's
he's
the
like,
gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, whereas reducing the size of your goal is much better. You highly increase the chances of meeting that goal. And then when you do, then you can set another goal on top of that. And you end up far exceeding what you ever would have in the first place. But it's just because you're reducing your target point.
Yeah, I love that Brad and Jill's goal was twice a week, because
Yeah.
that sounds a lot better than we must go to the gym every day.
Yeah.
We're going to take Sundays off, but every other day we are there.
And for an hour and a half each time, and we must use the row machine. And
the reality
There's
is,
a row machine?
I don't know. Don't most gyms have a row machine? This is terrible that I'm asking. We're going to rewind and delete that.
I don't know that necessarily you need to reduce your goal, but
well, if
you
your
need
goal
to have
is only,
steps.
if your goal is
Realistic
only,
goals. You need to make your goals realistic. So maybe a reduction makes them realistic.
well, I was gonna say, if your goal is only 2 days a week, you probably shouldn't
Don't
reduce
scoff
that.
at that. He's been going to the gym 2 days a week for
probably
2 months straight.
He's looking at my abs.
No,
You need to
but-
go more.
Abs.
No, the whole ideal was though. That's a very practical goal. That's a good goal. There's nothing wrong with that. And
No,
going 2
thank
days a week.
God. I was
That's
worried
awesome.
there for a minute. Yeah.
It's
That's
like,
awesome.
But
But
What I was getting at though, most people go the route that you talked about.
yes,
Maybe not 7 days. I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week.
right.
And then the first week you hit 5 days. The second week you have something screwed up. You hit 4. The third week you're like, oh, I only got 2 days in. And before you know it, you're not going to the gym at all.
Right.
2 days a week is sustainable.
it's like the it's like the person that says I'm just gonna diet, and they're like, well, I just had a piece of cake, so I might as well eat the whole cake.
Right.
I've slipped up, so I might as well just throw in the towel.
I do that.
I
don't like
what
cake, though,
Renee
but
is you're eating a whole cake. What Renee is doing is at the end of the year I would like to be here, and
Yeah.
so you're moving towards that. It's not an all or nothing.
That's right.
And if your goal by the end of the year is to be in more shape, it's not like, oh, I didn't get to the gym today, so
That's
I'm
right.
just going to curl another bag of Doritos. It's you
Cool Ranch or nacho cheese?
oh
Cool Ranch.
Okay, I'm just checking.
gosh, like that's a
What kind of question is that?
I was just
Is that a
asking.
real life
Naive.
question?
Well, some people around this table, outside of this table, literal table that are
Wait.
listening, might go,
There's
you
more
like the blue
tables?
bag?
And they're
Mhm.
wrong. Those
Well, it's
people
like
are
chili
wrong.
cheese Fritos and regular Fritos.
It's like people that
Neither.
pre-sauce.
Chili cheese.
Oh,
people that
Fritos
pre-sauce
make
their
me
barbecue.
nauseous.
What? What did I was caught
Way
up in
back-
I was caught up in
naked?
chili
It's like
cheese
way
Fritos.
way back to naked.
Yeah. But thank you. I agree because it has released the pressure for me to say, because even if I don't hit those goals by December, if I'm closer to them than I was at the beginning of the year, to me that's success.
Yeah, just get off the couch.
Just
That's
get
you're,
off the
you're,
couch,
You're
just-
moving towards that goal.
Just read a book. Like some people have that goal of like, I'm going to read a book a week, and I'm like, whoa, like I can buy a book a week, but I can't read a book a week.
There's a guy that I know. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about, but there's a guy on our district who his goal, he had a friend set a goal for him for reading, and his goal last year was to read 120 books.
Oh my golly.
And he did it, and now he's upped his goal for this year.
That's incredible. What is his
That's
retention?
insane.
See, it's funny because last
I
year
can't carry 100 books.
Because things
Yeah.
I don't set goals for, I accomplish all the time. You know how many seasons of shows I've watched already this year?
Yeah.
I'm amazed. The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. If you haven't watched it yet and you don't mind cussing, you should totally watch it. Just
Should-
saying.
should you be plugging non-Christian entertainment?
You encouraged people to take a shot a few episodes ago, so I'm
I
just
said,
Ooh, that-
but we're gonna have a debate eventually on
on cussing and drinking
Yeah,
or
yeah.
just cussing
Anyway.
Yes.
I set a goal last year to read 20 books,
and not cuss.
and I read 6.
And how much cussing did you do?
So this year, my goal is 12 books because I figure if I can read 12, I could probably read 15.
Okay.
So my goal is 12.
Your
and
goal
it-
is one a month.
right. And if I
That's
can
easy.
ice that by reading 15, and one of the things in Finish he talks about, he's like, if I read a book that's 25 pages, that counts as a book.
Yeah.
It still counts as a book.
It
I
is
read
a
a book.
book. It is
Yeah.
a book.
Yeah, so sometimes, like a few years ago, I read Stephen King's Dark Tower series.
Oh.
That's 7 books. It's like 5,000 pages
Yeah.
for 7 books. I was like, can't do a book a month on this. I think it took me like 3 months to read one of them. But
But you did it.
because of that, there's been times I'm like, well, does that really count?
Yeah.
It was like a 25
Right.
page
Well, no.
ebook or something. Does that really
Okay,
count?
so this is just a side note. So I have a really good friend, and she loves reading Pulitzer Prize books. But she does it over ebook, and then she was going on vacation, so she wanted to get kind of like the library version. And then she saw how long it actually was, because she was just intrigued by the book, downloaded it on her Kindle or iPad or whatever she does. But then when she got out of the library, she's like, "Oh my gosh, this is so long." She had no
That's
idea.
so intriguing to me.
So the
I'm
pages
the
didn't matter.
I'm the exact opposite.
What do you mean?
I
I'm gonna
like
check how many pages are in
no,
it.
I like the convenience of my Kindle,
Uh-huh.
but I hate the percentage progress because there's times
Oh.
if you're in a really
You
thick
can
book,
turn that off, can't you?
I don't know, probably.
Okay.
I don't know.
Techie.
But this is
Technology.
about as tech savvy as I get.
That's good.
Anyway,
You have a
but
Kindle.
but there are times if you're in a 1,500 page book on your Kindle, you can flip 10 pages and that percentage is not moving.
Yeah.
You're like, why am I
read
stuck
backwards.
on 10%?
I
So
read backwards.
as far as progress goes, I'm a visual person. I like to see, okay, this book is getting, the to-go is getting thinner than the,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Sure.
So I
Well,
prefer paper.
And the thing that I think is really interesting is some folks are a part of churches that celebrate Lent, or you've heard of Lent. Lent is a season leading up to Easter. It's a a season of preparation to prepare our hearts for Jesus' resurrection, which
Words.
he resurrected, decades, centuries ago, but nevertheless, we still prepare our hearts every year.
Millennia.
Yeah. And so the interesting thing is during Lent, I don't hear people set goals of a particular outcome at the end. Like, by Easter, I want to be this. Like, I want to be 15 pounds lighter by Easter, or I want to like lettuce, or whatever it is, Instead, they
Small
set
goals.
disciplinary goals of every day I want to incorporate prayer. Every day I want to not drink pop and remember the sacrifice of Jesus, how he died on a cross. Every time I don't drink pop, I remember that. I've done this. It helps.
Does that work?
Well,
I do.
to that, there is a goal.
There is a goal, but it's so different
goal
than when
is
we set New
uniform.
Year's resolutions.
The goal is uniform across the board. The goal is closeness to Christ.
And the interesting thing about Lent to me, I have found, is I don't feel like a failure if I miss a day. Whereas with New Year's resolutions, I feel like a failure if I miss a day or a week.
Do you skip Sundays?
But in Lent, it depends on what I've given up that year. All right, moment of confession. Here it is. Ready? And it goes with cussing, which is really funny.
Because Sundays, for anyone who's not familiar with Lent, Sundays are technically not part of Lent.
Because it's a 40-day period,
right.
and Sundays
So
make it 46
44
or
or
45
45,
or
something like
yeah.
that. But technically, I mean,
They're all technicalities.
obviously we're not. It's a cheat day.
It's a cheat
It's
day.
technically what
It
Sundays are. We don't call it that.
It is.
But
So 1 year for Lent, I gave up cussing. And like
What?
I'd watch, get it.
And every time I don't cuss, I think of Jesus.
Every time I went it. So this is like, over a decade ago. I was in my early 20s, and I'd watched a movie where one of the characters was a female actress, and she just cussed a whole lot. And I was like, oh, that's just so, gosh, is that what I sound like? Like, I was
Yes.
just so put off by it. And so I was like, you know what? For Lent this year, I'm not going to cuss. So anyway, I had a friend go in that with me, and like we were holding each other accountable. And so the next year, that friend and I decided, you know what? We're only going to drink water, and not drink anything else. No milk, no juice, no pop, no alcohol, nothing. Except we had planned a spring break trip that year. I know the story's getting long, but so we decided to take all of our Sunday days and celebrate all of our Sundays during spring break so that we didn't just have to drink water.
wait a second. Whoa.
So
Time out. You made your own Sundays
we
during
did.
Lent.
We did. We made a week that was straight up Sundays.
I feel like that's
It's
not
like-
kosher.
It's like saving sick days.
And
So you had a literal week of Sundays.
we sure did. But then on all the other Sundays, we held our Lenten promise, our Lenten
Are
commitment
there
and sacrifice.
makeup days in Lent though?
We
Like-
totally made it up, right? And so, which gets me to the bigger point. Thanks. Everyone take a moment and laugh at Renee. This is good.
Ooh. So I just have to point something out.
This was years ago?
No. Renee just plugged a show on Amazon with a lot of cussing and followed that up with a story of fasting from cussing during Lent.
I did.
We'll let our audience draw their own correlation there.
That I'm a trustworthy voice in the life of young people? Yes, thank you. Yes, I probably am.
That maybe
I always tell
She
them,
is a
hey,
safe space.
don't
maybe
watch
there-
this. It's super inappropriate, but let me tell you about this show that's really
that
funny.
maybe there are areas of limited progress.
We won't even talk about my Jesus experience when I watched Deadpool for the first time. Don't watch Deadpool, everyone. It's really inappropriate. It's so funny.
Wink, wink. Okay, continue.
Anyway, it brings me to the bigger issue with my sharing of the stories. It's about someone's heart, right? And the intent of the heart. And so when we do a first quarter check-in, we're not trying to create guilt or shame or conviction in you. We're really asking, how's your heart? Because you had set a goal. And if you're sticking with that, how's it going? If you're not sticking with it, why? Where are you at?
Check your heart.
Is it not as important anymore? Do you guys ever have a time in a week or a day where you just need a reset? Where you just need to take a pause out of...
You mean a Sabbath?
No. I'm not even... Well, we could talk about that.
A whole week of them.
I'm just talking like today has been a day I'm full of meetings or full of people or full of tasks, and I just need a reset for a minute. Do you ever
I like
have
to
do
take
that?
all my Sabbaths when we go to the beach every year.
It's my favorite Sabbath time of the year.
To answer your question, yes.
Okay.
There are, especially during my time through schooling. I just finished my schooling, and there were a lot of times where this is going to be a whale of a day, and I just need to take 10 minutes and totally unplug my brain a little bit to breathe in and to try to reset, so I can pick up for what's ahead. But I don't do it as frequently as I should. Part of the balance of life is self-care, and
Sure.
that's one thing that I do not do well, because I don't typically recognize the fact that I need to reset myself until the water's over my head.
Well, that's what I was going to ask next is, should we build in reset times every day or every week?
I think.
Should we? Or should we just let the waters come and then have, because I have people in my life who say, hey, you're not good right now. You need a break. You need a vacation. Or you need, just a reset.
Mm-hmm.
But what if you don't have those people? Or should we just preemptively build them in? So that we
If you don't have those people, you should build them in.
And is it possible to live a life where the waters never rise up so far if you've built in the resets? Is that possible? Because that's what we're, right? If we talk about building in the resets, our hope is we would never have to experience those it's all too overwhelming moments.
I wouldn't say that's an unrealistic hope.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's
I
not
would
possible.
I would say building in the resets is to take advantage of those times where the water is not rushing over your head, but it's also to prepare you mentally, emotionally, spiritually for when they do.
The reset doesn't change the fact that the waters are coming.
Yeah.
They just give you a little bit of perspective.
You're
in
building the
knowing-
ark.
To
Right.
take the breath.
You're building the ark
Yeah.
To take the breath
through
and prepare.
resets.
Sure.
For a biblical reference analogy there. That's essentially
Well,
how I look at it.
I've often said when I talk about Sabbath, is avoiding, ignoring, not celebrating a Sabbath each week, is that sinful?
Yes.
Does it go against, when we talk about sin, we're talking about going against God's best, God's hope for us, God's kingdom ways, and in it he built a Sabbath day. And when we say no thank you, or we work on it, like work way too much or overdo it, are we sinning?
Yes.
Yes.
We are.
Yeah, and it's something that everybody does.
Everyone sins in that way.
Week.
Okay,
Pretty
so this brings
much.
us to a question
Pretty
we
much.
can't answer today, but it is a question I want to ask. If that is sin, all right, and everyone around the table listening right now is like, "Who is it? Is it just like every other sin? Does it keep us from the kingdom of heaven? Should we repent of that sin and change and turn from our ways?"
Are we answering this?
Yeah.
Well, I
You
would.
said
I
we
would.
can't answer this today.
Yeah.
We can't answer it as
We
much as
can't-
Mike wants to answer it,
We
but
can't.
we can answer
we
it to
can't
some
dive
degree.
deep into it. I would say this. The Israelites were exiled
Who didn't know Jesus?
primarily for their lack of observance of the Sabbath. That was like one of the big reasons, one of the major reasons. And it was all about, it wasn't necessarily the day or one specific day of the week or whatever. It was all about their focus was turned away from God by lack of observance.
They didn't take the time.
Yep.
Mhm.
So now we think about culture and context today. And one of the things as youth ministers that we hear all the time is we're just too busy. It's just too much to ask a family to be at church for 3 hours a week, whether those hours are spread out or not. It's just too much to ask of us to volunteer and do this and do this. We are just too busy. So this takes it a little away from Sabbath, but do you think there is, sin sounds so harsh, but sinfulness in not placing some priority on God time every week or every day? And I don't want this to be a shaming conversation. I'm truly asking the question.
I think we have to, broaden our understanding of Sabbath. What that means.
Okay.
Like, Sabbath is not necessarily, I'm not saying it can't be, I'm saying it not necessarily going to church on Sunday morning and going home and taking a nap and watching football all day and not working.
And eating something cooked in the crock pot.
That's not necessarily Sabbath.
Okay.
Maybe
Feels like Sabbath to me.
maybe there's a time where that's exactly what you need,
Mm-hmm.
is just to
Yeah.
check out and rest. But the whole concept of rest, biblically speaking, is not necessarily taking a nap. It's finding peace in God. It's making Jesus enough for that moment or that day.
Or that week. or
That's
that.
to me, that is the concept of Sabbath. We talked about that before. Is Jesus enough? That's what Sabbath is all about. Jesus is gonna be enough right
that.
now.
Yeah, because so going back to my spring break hilarity, my brain has never thought in a regular week, my Sunday's crazy busy, so I'm going to divvy up my Sabbath and make sure every day this week I take an hour that should otherwise be all connected on a Sunday to Sabbath and rest. To me, Sabbath is a day. It's a day of something, right?
It's not a
day of-
specific day of the week necessarily.
No, because
It,
if
it
you
can't
are,
be as ministers, because technically we wouldn't be taking Sunday, which is most people's Sabbath.
Yeah, if you're in vocational ministry, you technically you work on Sunday. So most folks I know, it's a Friday or a Monday or a Saturday.
I've always tried to make, it doesn't always happen, but Saturdays are generally off limits from ministry or anything. That's like, that's the family's day.
Well, and so I think taking it out of the context, because we have a lot of listeners who aren't vocational ministers. Do you have a day? Do you have one day a week that is off limits to the world, that's just for family, or that's just to do exactly what other days don't allow you to do? And to Mike's point, allow you to rest in God to a greater degree than you get to the other 6 days of the week.
And just to clarify, I don't think focusing on your family is antithetical to that.
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean? Focusing on your family may be the very way that you focus on God, by pouring into them.
Yeah, I have a dear friend, and Sundays are off limits, and they both work in secular world, business world, but they don't schedule things on. It's a rarity when they schedule something on Sundays, because they go to church, they do lunch, and then it's family day.
Yeah.
And you're just not gonna take them away from that.
Yeah.
But when they don't get that Sunday, and they don't get it for a couple weeks in a row, they are of a different demeanor. They are drained. They are tired. They are, craving and wanting
Yeah.
their Sabbath.
What they're missing.
So those are the questions today. Big questions, but it's spring and it's a new season, and we hope that you're taking the time to take some time for you, to take some time for you and God, and to ask yourself, how's your heart? Check in. Where are you at? I'm Renee.
Still Mike.
I'm Brad.
And we hope to see you next time and talk to you again on Ministry Chemistry.